Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and get things going. This will pretty much be almost the last Tuesday gardening series, aside from next week, of course, is the spring sale preview, which we've got a lot of people signed up for that because that's kind of the behind the curtains of what are the things that if it were me, I wouldn't miss on the plant sale. And we've got a lot of good things. Leaned into some new suppliers for this plant sale. A grower that I knew in Oregon many years ago that he's got a small kind of micro nursery that we've gotten some really cool things from him. But we're really excited about the plant sale, of course. It's, I mean, yes, it is a revenue generator, but it's a way for us to share great plants with the community. It's kind of what I've always envisioned is us being that resource of plants you're not going to find at Home Depot or even the garden centers around here. I want us to be that resource. And also the information that goes along with them. So again, next Tuesday, that'll be the spring plant sale preview. And shortly after that wraps up, about 2 o'clock, we'll send the email out with the link so you can pre-order for the sale if you're a friend of the garden. So if you're not, I encourage you to become one. If you know other plant junkies that you might want to enable, let them know. And it actually, there's usually a number of plants that do not make it to Saturday because we have sold out on a number of things. And like I said, we've got some real good plants this spring. So really looking forward to that. In greenhouse news, it was a milestone yesterday. The first of the new glass actually started going on the greenhouse. So we're really excited about that. We continue, they hope to start on the wing that's on the Renolda Road side. That's what they'll start doing the glass on first. It's kind of a little ballet where they'll be doing glass on the west wing, and the radiator guys will be putting the fin tubes in the east, and then at some point they'll flip flop. So then you try to keep one vendor out of the way of the other, but still get a lot of stuff done. So yes. No. No, the solar panels were on the education wing, and that would defeat the purpose of, with a greenhouse, you want as much light coming in as possible. That's actually what moved our finish date dramatically. Was the glass that we had originally looked at was a UV blocking glass, which UV is actually critical for plants. So it's kind of like, wait, back up. We need to, yeah. So, we're really, to see the first glass start going back on, it's exciting. We're still looking at probably we won't reopen the greenhouse until fall. We'll do a preview for friends. That's at least what we're thinking right now. But we'll go once we get through the plant sale, which of course is Saturday, April 20th from 8 to 2. Once we clear out the greenhouse, then, I've warned Hayden, I'm like, then the orders start, because we've gotten some great support from some of the different garden clubs of, $2,500 for begonias, $2,500 for African violets and their relatives. And so we're really, this will be the fun part for me. That's, kind of my feeding my junkie phase of going, ooh, get to buy really cool plants. So we're really, it's an exciting time at Renolda. We will not be doing any Tuesday gardening sessions after next week, partially because we thought we'd be getting ready to open a greenhouse at that point when we were planning the calendar, but it's a construction project, and that was a little bit of a folly of thinking that we were going to really finish on that first construction date. But nevertheless, there's plenty going on. If you've got kids or grandkids, Janie has some great programs going on in the gardens. We've been really blessed with more volunteers signing up to join the gardens to help out with both education and working in the garden. So it's been a really good spring for the gardens. And, to hand that off now to Andy Zabit. Did I get it right? I got it right. I told her I like it when people get Rothling right, so I try to do the same for others. She is the Senior community educator for the stormwater division. And she's going to do a presentation on, water efficient landscaping, which is something that if you've been paying attention, with the way our climate keeps swinging more and more, the more resilient you make your landscapes, the happier you're going to end up being. So I'm looking forward to this talk. And I hope, both you and the audience and those of you online will enjoy it as well. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Andy. That's right. So you can put it on your lapel.
Oh,
whatever.
fancy.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi, everyone. As he said, I'm Andy Szabat, and I'm the Senior Community Educator in the Stormwater Division for the City of Winston-Salem, the best city in the world. I truly believe that. And I don't just say that because I work for the city. If you guys have questions during this, or if I talk too fast, let me know. I tend to talk really quickly, and it's something I'm working on. So just let me know if you need me to slow down. I'm happy to do that. So we're going to talk about water efficient landscaping. There are a couple different things that you can do to help conserve water, but my focus is more conserving water, but also making sure that the water that goes into our storm drains is clean. In Winston-Salem, our storm drains go to our creeks. And so if you put something in the storm drain at your house, it's like you're putting it in the creek downstream. And a lot of people don't know that. So it's my job to educate people on that. And then it's your job to help me keep the creeks clean and give our creeks a clear future. Let's get started. What is water efficient landscaping? So there's a couple different things. You can do rain barrels, you can have native plants, you can have a rain garden, which we'll talk about, riparian buffers, reusing water, which if you've ever lived through a drought, you probably have some very interesting ideas for that. And then reducing your impervious surface area. Do you guys all know what impervious surface is? Yeah, so anything that water doesn't go through. So, concrete, asphalt, anything like that. After a rainstorm, when you see that like pretty holographic sheen on a asphalt or anything, and it looks so pretty, that's just oil sitting with the water, not mixing in. So we continue to get more impervious surface. And because of that, the water sits on it and then it acts like tape and it picks up everything as it goes towards the storm drain. So increased impervious surface is also an increase in pollution in our creeks. Like I said, I'm the senior community educator. A lot of my job is educating. I do a lot of creek crawls. I'll be doing them at Renolda in June with Janie. I'm very excited. I do summer camps, interest groups in different schools. I work a lot with the K through 12 schools here and get the kids in creeks. We decide if we think the water's clean or dirty, and then we get in and we look for all the macroinvertebrates and different animals that live in there. And then we decide as a group of if we think the water's clean or dirty after. The water's always clean. I would never take them into dirty water, but it's really fun. A lot of these kids have never been in a creek before, even in high school. So that's really nice to see them get into a creek and just have fun like I did growing up. So water efficient landscaping is beneficial because of the environmental protection, resource availability, and social and ethical responsibility. Water is a finite resource. We can't make more water. So if we continue to pollute the water, then we're going to have to be taking more and more steps to have clean water for our drinking and for our showers and things like that. As these resources become more scarce, as clean water becomes more scarce, or if you're living in an area like a drought, I lived in California for 21 years of my life. So there were a lot of water restrictions. And let me tell you, it is not fun to have to try to take a cold shower to try to keep under your 3-minute limit for your shower. Okay, these are pictures of 2 of our creeks in Winston-Salem. As you can see, this one has a door in it. We don't put doors in our creeks. And then the one at the top, the person up the street was resurfacing their pool and then washing the plaster off. And it was going into the storm drain, which was going directly into our creeks. So this is what our watersheds look like now. Who here lives in a watershed? Everybody does. Most people don't know that. So everybody lives in a watershed, and I think of it as a funnel. So the top of the watershed is the big part, and it's gathering all of the water from Winston-Salem and then dumping it out into these tributaries, creeks. They end up in Salem Lake or the Yadkin River. Just like in Finding Nemo, when they say all drains lead to the ocean, in Winston, it's all drains lead to the Yadkin. Watersheds have more and more impermeable surface or impervious surfaces like roads, rooftops, parking lots, patios, and driveways. New storage facilities, we seem to be getting those in Winston left and right. And then also all the parking lots that we're having. So like I said earlier, all this impervious surface, it doesn't absorb water. So when stormwater runs over it, rain, snow, we haven't gotten any snow, sleet, anything like that, it picks up all the pollutants and then takes it down into the storm drain, which goes to our creeks. So the developmental impact, before when we didn't have so many buildings, 10% of it would stay on top, but 50% of it would go back into the ground and be absorbed and be filtered out. So that water was coming out cleaner than when it had landed on the surface. But now that we have so many buildings, you know, Winston is a big little city. The water tends to stay on the surface and only 15% is being absorbed. So all of that water is just sitting on the surface, getting the chance to be polluted. And then, like I said, going into our creeks. And this is a slide that was done by the Cooperative Extension. I'm sure you guys all know about them. They're a great resource. Okay, so in Winston, you will see these storm drains that we have. And these storm drains lead, like I said, a million times, directly to our creeks and then onto Salem Lake. Salem Lake is our secondary drinking source in Winston-Salem. Our first is the Yadkin River. And then our sewers go to a treatment plant. A lot of people think that everything goes to the treatment plant, but it's just the things that go into the sewers, not the storm drains. I know it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, and so people don't correlate them, but our storm drains do go to our creeks, and these do go to the treatment plant. These are some common pollutants we see, and I always hesitate to talk about the first one because I know that leaf collection was such a nightmare last year, and people had very strong opinions about leaf collection and voiced them very loudly at city employees. But it is one of our #1 pollutants, which is vegetative debris. And a lot of people think, well, vegetative debris is all natural. It's in the creek anyway, who cares? But what happens is if someone goes and stuffs a bunch of leaves down the storm drain, those leaves could have animal waste on them. They could have fertilizer, pesticides, anything like that. And then you're overloading the system. So when the creek gets this huge influx of leaves or grass clippings or anything like that, then it reduces the oxygen in the creek. And when they start decaying, it starts taking more of that oxygen and the animals can die. And we need these animals to help keep our creeks clean. They're part of the food web. So if one animal moves out, then it has a chain reaction down the line. Another one we see a lot of used motor oil. Please don't put that in our storm drains. You can recycle that for free at 3RC and at any auto store. I know because I've been to every single one in Winston and they all recycle it. You can also recycle paint at 3RC and that's free to Forsyth County residents. And then we have this beautiful dog whose owners would never do it, but one of our common pollutants is dog waste. And we see this a lot at Salem Lake. It's kind of a weird spot where you have a drinking water source, but you also have a trail that's very popular with people and their dogs. And then you also have the school of thought where, why would I put dog waste in a plastic bag that's going to take so long to decompose when it could just be in a natural area? But like I said, we test for fecal coliforms. I know that's gross. Everybody poops, all animals poop. But if your dog poops, please pick up after your dog, even if it is in a natural area because the water runs over it, like I said, and picks it up. And then finally, trash. I know a lot of people see this. We get calls all the time about Peters Creek and Silas Creek and how awful it is. I agree, it's hideous. Those are DOT maintained roads, so the city can't do anything about it. But litter is a huge problem that we have, especially with the increase of homeless encampments in Winston-Salem. Okay, so this is moving into some things that you can do in your yard to capture water. This can also reduce your water bill if you're going to track that really closely. And I kind of have a different range. So the very first one is I went to Home Depot and I made this myself, which is great. The second one, this is one you can buy online. It's a little more stylized. This third one, a lot of people will paint them. I saw someone paint one that looked like the Morton salt container with the girl on it. And then they planted all these white flowers on the top so it looked like salt. It was really cute. And then finally, this last one with the beautiful rain chain going to it. So rain barrels don't have to be these fancy things. If you have a spot on your yard that it's not going to be an eyesore, just to make an easy one, you can make one out of a trash can. The most important thing when you're making a rain barrel is that you have something to close all of the holes because the mosquitoes are so bad in Winston. I don't know if you guys get eaten alive, but I do. and they will find any hole. You could also put a mosquito dunk in that. Just make sure that nobody, like no kids can get into the water, and also that they're secure, because when they are full, they can weigh 500 pounds. Yeah, they're really heavy. And then you can also go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace or any home improvement store, and you can get diverter systems. So it would cut into the gutter and you'd install it, and half of it would go into the rain barrel and then the other half would shoot out. So once the rain barrel is full, it flips the little lever on the inside and it'll push the water out instead of continuously filling your rain barrel. Another thing to keep in mind when you're doing a rain barrel is, one, you cannot drink this water. I know some people give it to their chickens. I'm not a chicken expert. I don't know if I would give it to my chickens. That's between you. And yeah, the poor chickens. And also, if you have a clear barrel, it will grow algae. So you can wrap it in something so that it's not getting that sunlight, but the clear ones that the city tends to give away for free, they are clear. And then finally, in the winter, you'll want to drain it so that it doesn't crack with the expanding and heating. Oh, and one more, if you have an overflow valve on it, don't point it towards your foundation because it'll just sit there. Okay, is anyone here really into native plants? Awesome. Okay, I have erosion in my yard, and so I am trying to fix that by using native plants. I don't really want to put rocks in because my 2-year-old will just move them around the yard in his dump trucks. It's very important work to him. So I'm going with the native plant variety. So this is just, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this before, but it just shows the root depth. So if you're planting something like daylilies, which are really popular because they're super easy to do, that root depth is not very deep. But if you're planting black-eyed Susan, those roots are going to go all the way down. They're going to establish and they're going to stabilize your soil. Sediment is a huge problem for pollution in Winston-Salem. We have that really nice red clay, which when it gets into the water, it can smother the gills of the fish and the aquatic life, and it also coats their eggs and kills their eggs. So sediment is a huge issue that we have. If you ever see sediment going into a creek or a construction site not following what they're supposed to, just let us know. We have a whole team that will go out and investigate that. Native plants also offer a habitat for native insects. A lot of people will say, I don't have any bugs in my yard. I haven't seen a bumblebee in years. And then you get to talking to them and they don't plant anything that's native. So they're not really providing the house for these insects. And then they also filter the pollutants before they reach the street. Because they have these deep, long roots, they're able to absorb more of the pollutants. And because they go so deep, they can filter the water all the way down before it hits our water table, or like I said, before it goes into our streets. Okay, these are some rain gardens, and rain gardens are a great way to capture water and filter it before it gets out to either your gutter or to the street or anything like that. And here are a few examples. So the important thing about a rain garden is you need to create a depression. I think my next slide shows it better. Okay, so you need to create a depression, and this is where the water will go. So you would pipe your gutter into your rain garden, and the water would flow into that, and then it would go in to the sand, to the rocks, to the soil, and be filtered out. And then you have a little berm on this side. So in case we get one of these crazy storms like we've been having lately, I feel like we don't get rain anymore. We get like torrential downpours. If you get one of those, it's not going to overflow the berm. So we actually have one of these. The city has one. It's called a bioretention cell, and it's at Washington Park Dog Park, right next to the Little Dog Park. There's a beautiful sign designed by myself. And that just helps filter animal waste before it gets to the creek. But if you wanted to see one in person, it looks like an overgrown just patch, but it is serving a purpose of filtering the pollutants before they get to the creek. That's right there. We'll go back. Okay. This top one with the rocks, these are what people call a dry creek bed. So when there's no water, they're dry. And when there is water, they fill up and they create a really unique landscaping opportunity. One, because the landscape is changing depending on the rain. But also if you have kids or grandkids, it's a great place to splash and get boats and play in puddles and things like that. That can be a really fun hands-on experience for them. And then this rain garden is going towards the house. So this would be filtering the pollutants that are coming from the lawn before they get to the house. And by doing this and creating that little berm, you're also helping hold in all of the mulch all of the soil, so you're not getting your beautiful pavers all dirty or anything like that. And in some towns, they are getting rid of the traditional curb and gutter and going to grassy swales, which means that grass or the rain garden would go all the way to the curb. And they're really beautiful because they kind of look more natural. They have rolling hills and things like that. So some areas are going to that. Not so much in Winston. We are seeing an uptick of rain gardens and pervious surface in coastal North Carolina, and that's probably due to the fact that the Cape Fear River Basin is polluted, and it's so close to the ocean that there's a lot of eyes on it to try to help keep it clean. Hopefully Winston will move more into that. If you see a spot that could benefit from a rain garden or an area that could benefit from something like this, contact your council member. They have a lot more power than I do, and they are a great way to move things forward. And then, of course, native plants, please, because they do help filter out the roots. And then one more thing, the other benefit of native plants is that you don't have to water them as much. My first year in North Carolina, I didn't have a garden at all. I just had a grassy lot, and I came from overseas, and I was determined to put in a cottage garden like I had seen with my neighbors in Germany. It was a really big lift. But I planted a lot of plants that I found at Home Depot because I thought these are so great. And then I got my water bill, and it was like $350 for July, which that's not something I can afford or want to pay for. And it's because I was having to go out and water these plants so much. Native plants, you don't have to do that because they are established for this area. And also, if you're someone that like your yard gets fungus or you have bugs or anything like that, the native plants are a little bit more resistant to things like that because, again, they are here. I don't know if anybody has powdery mildew, but I just cannot get rid of that in my garden. But I'm not seeing it on my native plants, so. Okay, so impervious surface alternatives, like I said, we're seeing this more in coastal North Carolina, but some people are putting like the ribbon along their driveway. This would just capture any car fluid that would be leaking. I've also seen where people will plant that with low ground cover the whole way and a little bit of tall plants. It's really cute. It's a nice little addition. And then some parking lots are getting this new, they're pavers, and they pack them full of either dirt or gravel or sand. And that just offers a way to filter pollutants. And it's really great in a parking lot because as the car's sitting there all day, a lot of people's cars leak just drops of oil, and you don't know until it starts leaking a lot of oil. So these are a really great option to have. And then riparian buffers. Somebody here said their house backs up to a creek. Who was that? Your house backs up to a creek. Anybody else back up to a creek? Okay. So riparian buffers, we do have one. It's over by Winston-Salem State, over by Bowman Gray. And a riparian buffer is a vegetated area between a road or anything like that and the creek. And this allows a place for animals to live and to pass along. And also it increases the soil health, and it helps filter out any of the pollutants. So the riparian buffer is just kind of creating like a little safety zone around this creek. And in order for anything like trash or motor oil or anything like that to get to the creek, it has to go through all of these items, which is a lot. And so by the time it does reach the creek, it's either been filtered out or it's completely gone. It also helps increase the water quality because it prevents soil runoff and stabilizes the riverbanks. Erosion is a huge issue in North Carolina, contributing to our sediment issue in our waterways. So these are a great way to help stabilize the soil. Another thing you can do is called live staking, which live staking is really easy to do. It's very cost effective. And you buy a bunch of live stakes, and they just look like a stick. They're about this long. Sometimes they can be a little longer. And you go along the riverbank, as long as it's not a completely vertical surface, and you take a piece of rebar and you hammer it into the riverbank, pull that out, put the stick in, and they will grow in that area. They'll provide soil stabilization, again, a home for all of these beautiful insects that we have here, and just increase the overall health. If that's something that you're interested in doing, again, the cooperative extension, her name is Rebecca Craps, and she is a great resource for this. Okay, reusing water. Has anybody here lived through a drought? Okay, like I said, I grew up in California, so lucky me, I got to live through some droughts, and they impose water usage rules. So like when you are starting your shower and you're waiting for it to warm up, you put a bucket in your shower and capture all of that water. You don't take baths anymore. I mean, you still bathe, but you're not taking your leisurely Sunday night bath or anything like that. Something that I took from that, and I still do, is I reuse water to water my plants. So my husband loves to hard boil an egg. That's fine. I use the water once it's cooled down and I water my plants. Same with pasta water. You can use that as well, as long as it doesn't have like oil or salt or butter, anything like that. As long as it's just like the starch and the water, you can go ahead and reuse that. It doesn't seem like much, but it is just an easy way to take a step towards a greener environment and being more water conscious. And then finally, reducing pollution. So like I said, a lot of pollutants that we see in Winston-Salem are herbicides, pesticides, dogs, trash, and oil. If you're going to apply fertilizer or pesticide or herbicide or anything like that, try to apply it in dry weather. You need it to dry on the plant, because if not, then the water picks up and carries it down. And if you have a dog that, you love your dog so much, you want to take them on walks, that blue-green algae in our creeks can be toxic to your dog. And that's directly linked to an increase of nitrogen in the water, which nitrogen comes from fertilizer. And a lot of very popular fertilizers have a lot of nitrogen in them because they produce a lot of green growth. So that is a direct correlation between too much fertilizer, people not applying it properly, doing just kind of the big handheld thing. Everybody gets some fertilizer, Oprah style, and then it raining and it coming into our creeks. Animal waste, you guys know, pick up after your dogs. Litter, a lot of people don't think, if it's a really windy day, which it has been so windy in Winston lately, make sure your trash can stays closed. Mine didn't the other day, and I was chasing trash down the street. It was a little embarrassing, but just be cognizant of that. And then again, oil and chemicals. I know y'all are not the ones that are doing this, but it is a huge problem that we see in Winston-Salem. So again, 3RC is there for you. You can take your paint there. You can take household, like old TVs that you have, you can take there, anything like that. Go ahead.
Like big batteries, phone batteries or anything like that?
I don't think so. No. Yeah, on the 3RC website, they have a list of all the things that they take, but
Okay.
3RC. Yes, 3RC. The number 3.
3RC.
Right across the street
Okay.
from Bowman Gray again. And like I said, the most beneficial thing for me has been being able to take paint, because apparently our previous homeowners wanted to paint every room a different color. And it's free. They do have some weird open hours. I don't think they're open Tuesday through Sunday, but you just drive up. A lot of the times they won't even ask for your ID. They might, if they do and you don't have it, I told you to bring it. And then because you can only take 2 a year. Yeah, and then they'll mark you off. Yeah. Well, bulky item pickup is coming, and people, right, but people take this stuff. Yeah. I had someone break a mirror while looking. I was like watching them. They broke the mirror and drove away. I was like, wait, now I got to clean this all up. But yeah, 3RC is that free program that you can use for Forsyth County residents. And apparently, if you have a TV, they will check your ID. And then if you have any questions for me, I created this handy QR code. This goes to my email address. If it doesn't go to my email address, this was my first time doing it. So fingers crossed. And feel free to email me if you have questions. Like I said, the cooperative extension, they have a new extension agent. Phyllis has retired, sadly, but now it's this girl named Rebecca Craps, and she is awesome. And she can help with erosion issues and live staking, anything like that. And if you see any pollution in a creek, if you see a creek that looks like a funky color or smells kind of weird or anything like that, go ahead and give me a call, snap a photo, email it to me. We have a team that will go out and figure out what is happening. And then the person that's either doing it will be fined, they'll be educated on what not to do. And then we'll go forward. So it really is a community effort. I need your guys' help to keep our creeks clean, to give our creeks a clear future. I want my children to be able to play in the creeks. I'm sure you guys want your children and grandchildren to enjoy them. So thank you for helping me keep our creeks clean. And that is it. Does anybody have any questions? Live steaks. Live steak. Yeah. So it's just like a cutting, like, we'll use a dogwood as an example. It's just like a cutting of a branch of a dogwood. It literally just looks like a dowel and you just pound it in to the stream bake. No, so you would work with Mellow Marsh is a group that does them that you can order from, and then Bathsheba Gardens in Pofftown. Max would be a good resource for that as well, or any of the master gardeners. But you order them and they'll come like literally as a bundle of sticks. So when you get them, don't think you just got shipped dead sticks. They are live, they're just in a dormant state. And then you just put them in a 5-gallon bucket, and as you go along, you just pound them in. So that's a really cost-effective way and a way to kind of keep the creek the way it was instead of putting like concrete pavers and stuff in. I think so. Like with a cistern or something. I would imagine so. I know that they just passed a natural yard ordinance, so I think that they're becoming more open to alternative eco methods. I don't know why they would have a problem with that unless it was something that was unsightly. Like if you put like a huge cistern in your front of your yard, neighbors probably aren't going to love that. And you could get code enforcement called on you. So I don't know if any of you remember that house in Ardmore like 2 years ago. They had this like beautiful pollinator wildlife front yard, and somebody complained a code violation and the city came and mowed it, which, yeah, I know. I just report the news. I'm sorry. I didn't mow it. Yeah, people complain about everything, trust me. So their city council member got involved, and that's kind of what started it. We also have a new director in sustainability, and she is really about not just having the title, but moving the ball forward. She has a lot of great ideas. So that just gives people more freedom. I think a lot of people are also moving away from grass. I know some people, like my mom is like die hard for her lawn, whereas I would just like to rip up all of my lawn. So people are becoming more aware, and they're seeing more of these natural landscapes. So it's a way to let people have control, but also make sure that you're not going to have like, kudzu growing all over your house or anything like that. Anything else?
I've heard that in days gone by, yards were a combination of grass and clover.
Mm.
And I can go find clover online, but I wonder, is there any local source?
I have bought clover at Northwest Ace. Northwest Ace on Robin Hood. It is on Robin Hood, right? Yeah. Yeah. Super nice. They sell the white clover. But yeah, that's the only place I found it locally. They didn't have it at Tractor Supply the other day.
It helps to, you don't lose much fertilizer then, because it's pretty heavy, and also it helps.
It's good for the bees. Yeah. I know a lot of people, I feel like it's either you are diehard green lawn, like you want that look, or you're kind of like rip up all the lawns, and it's my. Yeah, a lot of people use creeping thyme as well as like ground cover for their lawn, because that's something that you can stand on. It's soft, you can play on it, and it's more durable than some of the other alternatives.
The ground cover from a water perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, like creeping phlox because they kind of spread out and they have like a little mat type root. That is a great way. Anything that you can do to plant native, because again, they'll work the best in this area, but also plant for your area. Like you don't want to plant a plant that needs part sun, part shade in a full sun area because you're going to have to water it more. So making conscious decisions based on where the sun is and things like that can also help save you money on your water. And then also the times of day that you're watering. You know, obviously don't water at noon. You're going to use a lot more water then. And if you can use like a soaker hose or drip irrigation or a sprinkler system, if you're lucky enough to have one, those are also really great. I'm going to do soaker hoses this year for my dahlia tubers. I'm very excited. So I have no experience with it, but next year I can report back and let you know how great they are. But yeah, that's a great opportunity as well. And I guess with a soaker hose, you could just get quick connects on the end where you just kind of plug and play the hose in. You could weave them through your yard and just have a couple spots that you're just plugging it in. And then it's just targeting the plants instead of broadly watering. Yeah. Yes.
Water bill was twice.
Yeah.
And we, you know, we just thought, oh, it's just running a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. It is. That can get really costly.
The toilet is running. You do not have a toilet.
Especially not in California. Yeah. 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 Or like not having the water running while you're brushing your teeth. Like just, yeah. Yeah. Plumbing's no fun. A lot of people, so if you do see an increase on your water bill, it's better to catch it early. My neighbors, their neighbors were flushing wipes down the pipes, and my neighbors had to pay, it was like $700. And they got their yard all dug up, their beautiful lawn, no more. So yeah, just keep an eye on that. And the city will send somebody out, like if you think you have a leak or anything like that, they have teams that will come out and put dye in it and see what's going on with it.
And they're often terrible for sewage.
Yes. Yeah, they don't break down. The wipes, yeah, the flushable wipes. Yeah, if you are wanting to see something gross, Google a fatberg. It's disgusting. Or don't, but you know, it's there. But you're right, they don't break down. So anything else? I do have some handouts. If you have a bee hotel, there's one that's specific about the bee hotel. A lot of people, including myself, didn't realize you have to clean them out every year. So that's a great resource. And then I have some frogs and then some paperwork on plants that you can plant to help erosion. Thank you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, we try and record and,